Okay, so the beginning of the focaccia making, we need to make sure that we have everything in place. So I have a 1/4 ounce of active dry yeast, which I actually found great instant active dry yeast right by our listing at East 29th Street in Kips Bay. Then this is good old-fashioned tap water, 1 1/3 cup that I'm going to make tepid. A 1/4 cup olive oil. I'm using a garlic infused olive oil because I like garlic. We have 3 1/2 cups all-purpose flour. And then I have some sea salt with orange zest in it that my mother brought home from Sicily. And we are ready to go. One important ingredient that I forgot to mention is honey. You can either use sugar or honey, about 2 teaspoons, because that will help the rising. It's a good agent to mix with the water so that you'll be able to make the yeast rise. So I pour the water into our mixer, our mixing bowl. I'm gonna eyeball this, which, you know, they say you probably shouldn't do, but it's really hard to get honey out of a teaspoon. So I'm gonna say that's 1 teaspoon. I'm gonna say that second spurt is 2 teaspoons. And if you have a little extra, that's okay. So I'm just gonna mix that. You could use anything to mix it, but I'm using a chopstick. Okay, so you want to get all that sort of sugar or honey mixed in before you put in the rising agent. And then I'm going to add that 1/4 ounce and then I'm going to leave it to rise or get kind of frothy for about 10 minutes. So I'm just kind of mixing it in a little bit, and then I'm going to leave it. Okay, so now that it's nice and frothy, I'm going to put it into my mixer. I will finish it off with the dough hook, but right now I'm going to use this handy dandy attachment. So I'll put maybe 1/3 that in there, and my olive oil. Lift it up. Start it. Doesn't have to be too fast. There's a little bit more olive oil. I can smell the garlic in the olive oil. I love it. Okay. I'm gonna stop it. Down. Bring it up again. Don't want to go too fast. And then that's on the slowest. Okay, it's pulling together now. So gonna stop it. I'll show you what it looks like. Now I have switched over from that other doohickey, that's the technical term, doohickey, to the dough hook. And I'm letting that go for a few minutes, and then I'll finish it off by doing a little bit of hand kneading, but you know, and you can do all of this by hand, but you know, I have my KitchenAid, so why not use it? There we go, nice dough. I use a little bit of flour in my hand to get it out nice and neat. Dough hook. Dough hook will be washed. And I take all of that dough out. Just a little bit left. And I've got a floured surface. And I'm just gonna put that in there. You don't want it too sticky, but you don't want it too dry either. If I hadn't used the mixer, I probably would be doing this for about 8 minutes. They say that you should probably put this in a nice clean bowl. You know what? The bowl is pretty clean, so I'm going to use that bowl. So that's my dough. Looks pretty good. Formed into a nice bowl or boule. And I take some more of our flavored olive oil, which, you know, you could just use regular olive oil, but because I have this, I'm using it. Sort of coat the sides a little bit. I don't have to coat them too much. That looks good. Then take our nice boule and just coat it with that olive oil. Yay. Then I'm going to put a nice damp towel on top of this before I put it in the oven to proof. Going to dampen my towel now. Doesn't need to be soaked through, but it should be pretty damp. So, here we go. I am going to actually use my microwave, because my microwave have this nice proofing function. I'm going to go to cooking options. It says proof or warm. I'm going to proof it. And I'm going to start it. And this will basically have the proofing time. You want to have this in for about 20 minutes, half an hour. Depends. It's not really about the time, it's about how much it rises. And you want it to double in size before you deflate it and do the second round. So I think it's about time for me to remove the dough from the proofing. I'm gonna check here. The tea towel feels pretty dry, so it's probably done. Let's check and see here. Yep, that looks like it's doubled in size. Still has that garlic olive oil, and the smell is absolutely fabulous. So, can deflate it. Whoa. Okay, deflated. And I'm gonna get it to rise a second time. Okay, so here we have the ingredients for my topping. I have already separated the thyme from their stems. I have already separated the sage from their stems, and now I'm just going to do a loose chop of the Kalamata olives, which if I'm ever cooking with any olives, it's probably going to be Kalamata because I love the taste so much. I still have the salt, which I did not salt the dough. I am just going to put the salt on the top, and then I have more of that olive oil. The recipe calls for just 1 to 2 tablespoons to drizzle on top. I have a little bit generous, 2.5 tablespoons maybe, and I'm just going to give these olives a rough chop, and we should be ready for the topping of the focaccia. Okay, it looks like the second rise has done nicely, so now I'm just going to add the toppings. So the recipe calls for putting on the olive oil first, and then the toppings, but I find that the toppings adhere to the bread better when you put the toppings on first and then kind of seal it with the olive oil. So that's what I'm going to do. And here we go. I'll put the thyme on first and just kind of spread it around a little bit. Now, what the recipe does say, and I agree with, is to really put nice deep pockets. So you're gonna use your fingertips to make the dough really nice and deep. So I'm going to give the Kalamata olives just a sprinkle all around. I used a lot because I love Kalamata olives. Here we go. And you're going to kind of want to push those in to seal them in there, because otherwise they'll kind of, fall off once you take it out of the oven. So, and then I'm using the last of the salt that my mother purchased for me in Sicily. So I figure it makes sense to use this salt. As a topping for our focaccia, only fitting. So now I'm just going to take my fingertips and kind of push all this good stuff in there before I top it with the olive oil. So, making this nice deep pockets. I'll spread that around a little bit more. Okay, it's kind of want it somewhat even, not too even. But there we go. And it is going to come up nicely once it's in the oven. I have started preheating the oven to 400 degrees, or maybe 415. And then this will bake for about 20 minutes. So here we go, drizzling the olive oil. So we can let it rise a little bit more while we're waiting. And I'm just gonna cover it, but not so that the covering goes onto the bread, because it's already olive oiled, and so there we go. Okay, and here is the focaccia all ready to go into the oven, and it smells so good already. So that should go in for about 20 minutes. I'm gonna put the timer on for 15, just so that I can check it and see if it needs to come out early. This has been done at 415 degrees, so this is one of those times when I really actually do need to use an oven mitt. And look at that. Oh my God, it's gorgeous. And here it is. I waited for my partner Scott to come home so that I could cut it, and now I can. And there you can see, nice good crumb, nice rise, and nice crunch. So for my second rise, I'm going to take the dough directly out of this bowl and put it into the pan that I'm going to use to bake it with. So here we go. And I'll sort of shape it into sort of a rectangle. I'm using a silt pad. And just going to cover the silt pad, but not go to the edges of the pan. And my hands feel vaguely like olive oil. So if you want to see it there, that's what it looks like. Yay. And again, I'm going to cover this with a damp towel for about 20 minutes. Now, because I'm going to put it in the proofing again, it's probably only going to take about 10. So now that I have the second rise proofing, I'm going to just prepare the herbs. I have some thyme, I have some sage, don't really need to do anything to sage. And then I have some Kalamata olives, so I'll just chop up the olives. They have been pitted already, so I don't have to pit them because that would be annoying. So here we go. And to do the thyme, I basically just take it and strip it down. You don't need to chop anything. You just need to get the little bit of leaves off of the stems. Mm.